So, two timelines. The first one is the actual release timeline and a little bit of info. And the second one is the narrative timeline. So, first is Apotheosis, which is in brackets, because we ignore it. It's not very good. Don't look it up. This was an EP back before I had a band. It was just me. It's not very good. There's not much to say. It had a lot of great artwork. It was super cool. Also under the name Design was an album called Catharsis, which unfortunately is still available because some people did, in fact, like it. I should have had dates. That would have been smart. I don't care that much. You can look it up. After that was the first full-length album, Emanate. Now, keep in mind, these two were both self-produced. Apotheosis was entirely sample-based, as I've mentioned before, except for one spoken line of dialogue. Everything else was samples. This, on the other hand, kind of as a retaliation for some reviews being like, whoa, that's a drum machine, lol, that I took personally because I'm me. Real drums. I don't even think they were layered with samples. Maybe they were. Real guitars, real bass. God, everything. It's also not very good. Emanate, I took to the studio. Now, fun fact, when I went to the studio I went to, which is Schoolhouse, run by Nick Jin, excellent engineer, excellent human being, I actually went there to pitch Dispassion, the Hollow Again album. That was originally what I was going to record. That was originally going to follow up Catharsis. But we got talking, and I showed him a few of the demos for Emanate, and he's like, dude, record this. And it wasn't in any state to be recorded, so it was like a scramble. Some songs, a bunch of songs were scrapped. Some were like written super last minute. Tabula Rasa comes to mind. Don't listen to it. The other thing to note, which isn't on this chart, is that Emanate the song got a re-release with Danny singing and a complete remix and remaster of that song, which was a lot better. It was a lot more, the production was a lot more metal. It was more along the lines of what would have made sense for production, but of course when I brought this to Nick, he didn't know what the hell to do with it, and that is completely fair. So also keep in mind at this point, during the production of Emanate, this is when we started becoming an actual band and switched the name to The Design Abstract, which followed with getting members. During the time of finishing up the recording of this, I was already like well underway of writing Corrupt. Corrupt was also, it wasn't as huge of a studio effort. It didn't cost thousands of dollars or anything, but it also wasn't my production. It was Alex from At Dawn's Edge. It was going to be a full-length album, and the writing at this point, again, because the band was just forming, all of these songs were also just written by me, and a lot of them were, in the words of my girlfriend at the time, up my own ass, which is a fair assessment. We scrapped it, we turned it into an EP. It wasn't even that good of an EP. Yeah, you can draw a line there. I could draw a line, actually. Let me draw the worst line possible. Give me a moment. What the hell? Bruh. There. That's my line. Because from then on, we've got... I'm deleting that, that's terrible. Esoteric. So this kind of marked a new, I don't know, the start of a new era for the band. I guess the other thing to note is every single album up to this point changed vocalists. We're not gonna go there. It's fine. The information's out there if you want it. I don't care. But more importantly, a bunch of these songs, about half these songs, I think, or more, were written by Logan, and it was self-produced, which is, you know, the start of that shit, of technotheism. The writing for technotheism, again, began around this era. Technotheism almost entirely existed way before the conception of esoteric. Esoteric, like, happened very, very quickly. One of the songs we've been sitting on for a while, but believe it or not, all of these songs are way newer than technotheism, so it's funny when people say, it's like, oh, you kind of outlined the sound of technotheism, or, yeah, in esoteric, and I was like, the songs are newer, it worked the other way, but whatever. And then after that, this isn't the album art, but we've got Metamtechnosis. That's the one we're working on right now. It's a banger. This is the timeline. Now, as far as canon goes, like the story, that isn't canon. Didn't happen because it's not really about anything. It's about personal struggles and stuff, and it doesn't really contribute to the storyline. The narrative looks something like this. So I will explain. This is the primary storyline. Emanate kind of is an overview of a lot of things. Emanate very vaguely tells the story of, like, you aim a camera at Earth and you put it on time lapse over the course of, like, hundreds, maybe thousands of years. I don't really remember. That kind of sets a few things in motion. So I'm going to say the least interesting thing. Did I label these? I thought I had some dumbass labels for these. I did. Okay. The main timeline is an overview. The direct continuation of it is technotheism, where basically there's some technology outlined here, and it builds up to what happens in technotheism, and then there's a downfall in metamtechnosis. No, we'll get there. While that's happening, there's a song called Event Horizon, and the song Event Horizon is basically explored in its entirety in Corrupt. So this one album is sort of branched off as one song here. Another song, Emanate, and I think, and Expedition, and a few other ones, are about going to space. That's what the album cover is about, and the name is about. It's about leaving Earth and exploring distant horizons. But obviously that doesn't happen in the main storyline. It's still on Earth. So this branches off, and we go to space. And that's where we're going in the future. But right now, we've got the technotheism timeline, which is the events that take place in technotheism with the singularity and, you know, the eventual extermination of people who aren't in the singularity. And then the plot stuff that happens in Metamtechnosis, which you will hear soon, followed by... Okay, originally Metamtechnosis was just supposed to be an EP, and the guys talked me into making it a full-length album, and so I'm gonna have to flesh out. I took some ideas from this plot and put them here. It's fine. Anyway, spoilers, there's a big apocalypse. That's this. During the apocalypse, that's when Esoteric takes place. Originally I said it wasn't canon, but it fits in. There's parallels here. So after these two albums, which this might be only 4 tracks, very long tracks, but this might actually be an EP. We're gonna go back here, and you can see this very nice gradient drifts away, because that's sort of where we're headed. But yeah, this is the overall timeline. The reason Apotheosis is still here and it's in brackets is because this was basically just an overview of this. I know none of the songs carried across, but that's what it was. Yeah, I don't know how much this is going to mean to some people, but figured I'd get it out there. The few who care, this is the official canon of our narrative. Yeah, I'll stop putting off that Theory Part 2 thing.